Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jens Pateu and today I want to talk about assisted dying, how it's going to lead to forced dying, or at least that's the intention of some elites behind the scenes. So I'm really going to flesh it out in this video. So, assisted dying, or euthanasia as it is known in Europe, is where people are suffering immensely and they choose to transition, they choose to pass. Now, this is a very emotional and emotionally laden subject. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion on euthanasia and assisted dying. I think in some cases it can be warranted because we don't want people to suffer immensely when we know they're going to die. But what is being planned is by the elites, and I'm going to show examples of this, is that they want to transition from euthanasia, assisted dying, to forced dying, where at a certain age, for example, you reach the age of 70 and you're not considered productive anymore for society. And then they want you to retire, but for real. Like they want you to transition. Now this might sound extreme, but this is the plan. And the way it's meant to be, it's gonna become more and more gradual. This is gradualism, and I've talked about gradualism before, is how they push through minute changes in society, and each step is in and of itself is not a big change, but that's how we get slowly accustomed to it. And after 10 steps, the world that we live in step 10 is totally uncomparable anymore to the world we lived in step 1. And this is a technique they have been using time and time again. For example, with these extreme security measures in airports, now we think it's normal, but it didn't used to be that way. But it got gradual. So that's gradualism. It's like the boiling frog. When you put a frog in hot water, it will jump out. But when you slowly boil it, it won't jump out and it will die. So this is also what they're doing with euthanasia, and I'm going to give examples of this. So the first euthanasia or assisted dying legislation was said that, okay, it could only happen in specific circumstances. For example, the person was suffering a lot and the person was going to for sure die within 6 months. Of course, you can discuss that because who is to say that this person is for sure going to die within 6 months, right? So that's also kind of tricky. But anyway, it started out really strict. But the thing is, it's getting less and less strict. So, for example, in Belgium, it started out as, only people that were really terminally ill, but now it includes people that, have mental illness, that are, declared by psychiatrists to suffer innumerably. Now, I'm certainly not saying that, people can suffer, of course, enormously through mental illness, but we should look at solutions first, right? Instead of, creeping up on that, choice of assisted death. And in Canada, for example, also the assisted dying law was introduced in 2016, but then Canada expanded the law to include people who had non-terminal conditions. And now they're already talking about encompassing people in this legislation who have mental illness, like in Belgium. Now in Canada, that has been delayed to 2027. There's also been instances where people in Canada were being offered assisted death when they themselves have not asked about it. So, for example, a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces who was suffering from a post-traumatic stress disorder from the war was given the option: will you choose assisted death? But he didn't bring it up himself. This veteran said that this suggestion was unprompted. So, and then the Veterans Affairs of Canada had to issue a public apology. So we see here there's instances where they actually, they plant the idea in people's head. They offer it without the person themselves talking about it. And this is the slippery slope that I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to play you a clip here of Conservative MP Danny Kruger in the UK, who has been advocating for very strict, assisted dying laws and to not let it go downhill. And let's hear what he says about, what's happening in Canada.
I think we should look at Canada with great concern about what a assisted dying law would do, because there in Canada you have many cases of people being offered an assisted death without having suggested it themselves, people being offered this when really what they needed was just care. I mean, not even palliative care, but just care to live well. So people with serious disabilities not being able to get the social care package or the adjustments to their home that they wanted in order to live well, but being offered this cheaper option of an assisted death and taking it. In Canada, you've got people with diabetes, with eating disorders, being offered it and taking it. But I'm afraid these sorts of terrible stories apply everywhere. I mean, there's not a country in the world which has assisted dying where people with eating disorders haven't made use of it. So even in the places that the proponents of this bill point to, like Oregon, a US state which does have quite strict rules around eligibility, nevertheless, even there, anorexics have been given an assisted death, and even there they expand the access to this law. So
of course in the UK too they want to pass a bill now, an assisted dying law, and there's a lot of commotion about it, as it should be, because we don't want to get into that slippery slope, where just kill people and not try to do everything to help them, especially people with mental illness. Because for example in the Netherlands there is this girl, as you can see here, this beautiful young girl who had a mental illness, and she was allowed to basically, commit suicide, assisted dying. Also, in Belgium this happened. A person who was a victim of a terror attack and who had also post-traumatic stress disorder, they gave her the go-ahead to basically, for assisted dying. So this is, in my opinion, a really slippery slope we're on, where, perfectly physically healthy people with a mental illness get to have that choice. And they're gonna extend it more and more. The goal of these elites is to extend it more and more. So, even old people, for example, would be able to die. And there is actually this movement in Holland. It's led by famous, VIPs in Holland. And it's called Out of Free Will. So Out of Free Will is an organization that promotes that all Dutch people over 70 years who feel tired of life should have the right to professional help in ending it. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what they want to introduce. And it's led by Dick Swab, which is a well-known Dutch neurobiologist who is like a real skeptic and materialist. He doesn't believe in life after death. He doesn't believe in the soul. And that's usually where this comes from. Because it comes more from people, okay, when I'm old and I'm not functioning anymore, I'm just going to choose death. And the reason the elites do this is it's out of economic reasons, because they see it really, it's that strict materialist, coldly rational mindset that says, if you reach a certain age, then you're not productive anymore, you're not contributing to society, then you just take the demise pill. They know it. It's called the demise pill, euthanasia pill. And then we're going to throw one big party, and you take the demise pill and you're gone. And this in Belgium, this is also a kind of something like this has also been, legislated in Belgium, where the government has put a quota on knee operations for people that are older than 50 years. So only 45% of the surgery on the knees can happen with people older than 50. So why? Because because it costs government too much money. So basically, if you're older than 50 and you have, a bad knee, you're done for. So this is that mindset, like saying, we have too many, the baby boomers, we have too many people that are going to grow old. The government is not going to be able to pay all these pensions. So, the most humane thing to do is to be sympathetic with society, support society by choosing assisted death. And this is what they're trying to do, is to leading it to force that at a certain age, to make that part of our culture, make that part of our society, where you say, okay, you reached a certain age, and now it's time to go because you're not contributing to society anymore. And as we all know, Hollywood really, kind of programs us with predictive programming. And there has been a lot of movies actually that talk about this. And one of the, older movies that talk about this from the 70s is Logan's Run. So in Logan's Run, people live in a dystopian future where citizens are forced to undergo renewal at the age of 30 to maintain population control, which is basically assisted death. There's another movie called In Time from 2011, where time is the currency and people stop aging at 25, but they must earn time to stay alive, and those who run out of time die instantly. This movie, The Giver, in 2014 with, with famous names, Meryl Streep, Jeff Bridges, also in a utopian society where the elders decide that certain members of the community should be released, which is also assisted death, which is then revealed in the movie to be euthanasia. So there's so many movies like this. Also from 2019, Midsommar, where a Swedish cult maintains a ritual where elders voluntarily die at 72. And I saw that movie, it was really weird and creepy. So there's a lot of movies that are already out there that, impregnate our consciousness with this idea of forced death at a certain age. And the fact that these elites want to do is obvious from their eugenics practices, but also in the 1969, we know this from the testimony of Lawrence Donegan. And Lawrence Donegan was, a pediatrician who was high up, and he was invited to a talk of Planned Parenthood, where Richard Day, who was the medical director of Planned Parenthood, gave a talk. And Richard Day said to Lawrence Donegan, I'm going to reveal something about the future to you guys. And you can't take any notes or can't make any recordings. Now, this was a different time. There were no smartphones then, so it was much harder for people to record, of course. And he told a room of about 80 to 90 doctors about the changes they would witness in their lifetime as a result of an elite group behind the scenes. Now, he was working for Planned Parenthood, which is, of course, associated with the Rockefellers, the Rockefeller Foundation, who basically founded Planned Parenthood. So it's from these elites, the elite Rockefeller family, amongst them, that it's coming. But Richard Day, took notes, and he memorized everything. He said, because he had a kind of photographic memory, he was really good at remembering things. And he took notes when he came home. And Richard Day never spoke about this, because he said, you were not allowed to speak about this. Richard Day said to the people, you were not allowed to speak about this. But Lawrence Donegan took the notes and, didn't talk for 20 years about this until he was, dying. And he came out in 1989 in an interview where he said what was being shared. And one of the things that was being shared about forced death, forced euthanasia. And Richard Day said that they would limit access to affordable medical care to eliminate the elderly more easily. And Lawrence Donegan said he elaborated about that in some length to make the cost of medical care burdensomely high so people could not afford it. And also, and I'm going to literally quote what Lawrence Donegan said, so it's Richard Day as quoted by Lawrence Donegan. I'm going to read it for you guys. So, everybody has the right to live only so long. The old are no longer useful. They become a burden. You should be ready to accept that. Most people are. An arbitrary age limit could be established. After all, you only have the right to so many steak dinners, so many orgasms, and so many good pleasures in life. And after you had enough of them and you're no longer productive, working and contributing, then you should be ready to step aside for the next generation. So this is the plan. It's involved with these elites, the Rockefellers, Planned Parenthood. The connections are there, and this is proven. I mean, you can find the recordings of Lawrence Donegan talking about this. So basically, the elites see the people as a source, as an energy source, and once you are no longer productive, they just want to kill you off. It's like it's like chickens who lay eggs, and once the chickens don't produce eggs anymore, they kill them in their factories. It's the same thing. So it's so inhumane, and it's gradualistically meant to go there. So it's a very dangerous and slippery slope, and we got to be aware of this. And to end this video, I want to talk also about the spiritual aspect of assisted death. I've did an interview with Thomas Meyer on my YouTube. You can see it on my YouTube. Thomas Meyer talked about, medical interventions, but he also talked about how some end-of-the-life drugs, so drugs that is designed to make you die, that they use in assisted dying protocols, it has a bad effect on the transitioning of the soul. He said not all of the end-of-the-life drugs, but a lot of them, and he said it was by design. So some end-of-the-life drugs, when being injected, force the soul out of the body in a way that is not congruent with a natural, transitioning, and the soul can kind of end up in a limbo or needs kind of assistance. So the normal, by these chemicals, by pushing these toxic chemicals in the body, the normal transitioning of the soul out of the body and into the lighter realms is kind of, sabotaged. And he said, with healers that he consulted and himself said that they saw it was, intentional to kind of, break that normal death cycle. So this is something we also have to be very aware of when administering euthanasia to somebody. We have to factor in the human as a spiritual being and what the effect of certain chemicals are to force you out of the body. And This is also something we need to consider, and this is something, of course, people with a materialistic outlook do not consider at all. So all these things need to be weighed in to make a judgment on this. So the last word is not said on this, but this is something we really have to be aware of: is We need to keep our humanity, and we need to, of course, take care of the elderly. That's what any self-respecting society does. So instead of, just dying them off. So thanks for watching. It was not an easy subject. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like my content, please don't forget to subscribe and like and share this video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.